Let's bring in someone, Fortune Magazine's David Kirkpatrick. Wander in here, David. And most importantly, have you signed a movie deal for the Facebook effect yet?
Oh, thanks for asking that, Tom.
Yeah.
Actually, there's been interest, but I haven't signed a deal yet. But certainly, I think it could make a good movie. It probably would make a great documentary script.
Yeah,
too.
I like that even better. But when I saw The Social Network, I said, and I know Cambridge pretty well. I'm like, well, nice lighting, and it was great, and you know, I loved it. Your book is the polar opposite of The Social Network. What do they not get in that wonderful movie that you get in the book?
Well, thank you. I think the single biggest thing that's wrong with that movie is the characterization of Zuckerberg, the failure to give him the right motivations, because it basically makes it seem like he made Facebook to impress a girl who spurned him. And it also makes him out to be an angry guy who's insecure, who's trying to get approval from people.
Is he an angry guy?
He's the least angry guy you're ever going to meet. He's unbelievably confident also. He also had women throwing themselves at him pretty much his whole life. He's funny, he's smart.
That's a break exclusive right there. Let's get to it. David Kirkpatrick on the women of Mark Zuckerberg. Dreaded first chart. Here's a chart, and I want to talk about the thing that's in your book and nowhere else, and that is network effects. If you take an Ethernet function, it's exponential, and the bottom line is it builds on itself. Here's just one example. Netflix, where it almost feeds on itself within a zeitgeist of people just coming into it. What are your thoughts on network effects and how we discover them?
It's an important point to focus on, Tom. And in fact, I think Facebook represents a company with network effects even more than Netflix. I mean, the basic idea of network effects is a system which becomes more valuable for all users with each new user. So a classic example of that is the telephone system. If we didn't all use the same phone system and have the same network of numbers, it wouldn't be useful for any of us. And Facebook just gets more and more useful and interesting the bigger it gets, because we can be more confident that the people we know are on it.
Dan, would you bring in here the first note on Facebook? This is on effects, Dan. If you could bring Dan substituting for Rex today. Rex on a well-deserved vacation. This is from the Facebook effect. Folks, this is the single most important sentence in the book. A product or service is said to have a network effect when its value grows greater to all users each time one new user joins. This explains Twitter. This is really the heart of social media, isn't it?
It's the heart of pretty much all communications products. I mean, it's true for any communications system that the more people that are on it, the more useful it is. So certainly Twitter is another example, but it's not as good of an example as Facebook, partly because Twitter is more of a broadcast system, whereas Facebook is very much a bi-directional connection between people.
We tried to do this show 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, and getting everybody together, you and Howard Lindzen and Kevin Systrom with his busy schedule. It's proven a challenge. And even since we planned this show, Google Plus comes along. Your thoughts on this new thing? I'm not even on it yet. I'm embarrassed to say that.
Well, I'm on it, and I think it's really good. It's very cool, and I would say the basic way to look at it is it's the first time Facebook has had real, serious, quality competition since it was created, the sustainable quality competition. Now, there's a lot of articles out there, you know, asking the question, will Google Plus kill Facebook? To me, that's a ludicrous question. First of all, anything that has 750 million users goes away very slowly. The network effects don't disappear. People would almost have to move en masse to Google Plus. Which you know, could some people imagine that's possible, and I'm not saying it couldn't happen if Facebook really screwed up. For example, if there was a 3 or 4 day or week-long system outage at Facebook, people would say, hey, I got to keep socializing. I want to go to Google Plus. But that's not very likely.
I'm so glad you bring this up. This is the heart of the early part of your book, which is the absolute paranoia that all these people had of the system crashing, of not having it even for 3 or 4 days. They do yeoman's duty, the people around Mr. Zuckerberg, in making that happen. That's really become gospel of social media.
Well,
it's
one of the most amazing facts about Facebook is it has almost never gone down in any fundamental way. I don't think it's ever really systemically been down for more than maybe 5 or 6 hours, and that's probably only happened once or twice. So that the average user of Facebook has no experience of it not working. Compare that to Twitter, which for years, you know, the fail whale was part of the joke, that it was always not usable. Now, I think Google, again, is also going to be very good at keeping Google Plus operating.
Let's bring up this quote right away. School time, course, where has it started? You can see it down here, David. Let's bring up this quote. As the summer continued, excitement built inside the company as Zuckerberg landed in the swimming pool about twin launches planned for the first weeks of school. Okay, that's so old. That's so 2006 or 2007. What's the excitement this summer at Facebook?
Well, when they announced their partnership with Skype just about 2 weeks ago, Zuckerberg said it was the opening of launch season at Facebook. So he intends a whole series of new product announcements and designs and things that they'll be unrolling over the next few weeks and months. I think we don't know what they all are. I'll tell you, I do believe we're going to see some kind of very tight deal with Spotify, the music service that just launched in the United States last week. That's a very big deal. I'm already using it on my mobile phone. Any music I ever wanted to hear from any artist.
Better than Pandora?
Oh my God, because it's anything you want at any time on your mobile phone with high fidelity. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
and Facebook is going to make that even more social.
Yeah, Paul Meeks on this later. Wander over here, Matthew, and look at this. And folks, this is just the iPad we're using for Bloomberg Business Week. Andy Warhol famously said that everybody will be famous for 15 minutes. On Facebook, Kirkpatrick says what's limited is not how long you are famous, but how widely you are famous. Again, network effects in distribution.
Right.
We see this at Bloomberg every single day.
Right.
It's distribution is the new thing.
It is the new thing, but actually that quote is interesting, and the way I wrote it back then when I wrote the book, this has become something of a problem for Facebook and some point of the opening for Google+, which is that people have used Facebook too freely to connect to too many people. In other words, their fame is too wide because they aren't really friends with a lot of the people they've connected with on Facebook. And that's what Google's trying to solve with its circles that allows you to control your messaging to specific groups of people more easily. Facebook's going to have to match that.
Here's Page in the conference call, the CEO of Google now. All the reports I saw doing better, getting the CEO wrapped together. Google as a company believes in users owning their own data and being able to easily move it, key phrase, out of Google. Some of our competitors don't believe in that. That's the distinction, the differentiation. But again, you've got game theory mass of a first mover in Facebook, don't you?
Right, and I don't think there's such a fundamental ethical belief difference between Google and Facebook on this. I think in these companies, they always say that sort of thing for expediency. Facebook is very open in many respects, but no company wants to take actions that undermine its core business. Google no more than any other. So, right now it's very convenient for Google to say, hey, we let you take your Google Plus data wherever you want, but they only have 10 million users. Facebook's got 750 million.
Yeah, let's bring it up here. Management, the distinction. Look at this chart, folks. This is positively stodgy. These companies wear they wear white shirts, not bow ties. IBM, Palmisano, and Intel, train wreck. Management matters in technology. Tell us the character in management. Susan getting a lot of FaceTime at Facebook and Zuckerberg and all that, but just in all of your writing about social media, which management sticks out? Which is the one that has a character here?
Well, I mean, Zuckerberg is an extraordinary natural manager, which I think a lot of us were surprised to see as we moved forward with this kid who started when he's 19 years old. He's just grown and grown and grown. And he's also done one of the great managerial things, which is hired people that are extraordinary to be able to delegate to them, most notably Sheryl Sandberg. But he's got a whole panoply of amazingly high quality people in there. And, he focuses on product. That's what he does. He knows that's what he's good. He was recently quoted in an article about Sheryl saying, I'm not as good at thinking about people and money and strategy. I'm good at strategy and product. And he knows that he needs somebody else to help him with that, and he got her to do it. And that's good management right there. People worship him at the company, by the way.
Do they worship him in Silicon Valley?
Less than they used to. I think the problem with worshiping him at Silicon Valley now is that anybody who gets this big in any business in American culture is always somewhat reviled, and the big our instinct is to bring them down. Right.
What is your take on the valuations we're seeing? I mean, you're not the financial guy on that as much as you are.
I think about it a lot.
It's silly.
Facebook's worth a lot. Facebook
Yeah.
is going to be worth a lot. I think I would almost guarantee you the IPO will come in at well over 100 billion as for a valuation. And the reason is that among its many other qualities, it has the ability to target advertising to a mass of
Yes.
people more effectively
I use it personally.
than any service we've ever seen. So it can compete with TV. And at the moment, its numbers don't really show
Well,
that.
when you
It's going
get
to
a-
have maybe 5 billion in revenue this year. It could easily have 50 billion in revenue in 4 or 5 years.
When you get on a plane and you go out there and you land at San Jose or San Francisco and you go to the greater there, what's different now versus 5 years ago?
Well, there's a lot more optimism out there. And, you know, people talk about a bubble. I hesitate to use that term because I think it's a company-by-company analysis. I don't see Facebook's valuation as being indicative of a bubble, even though that's the biggest company that's included in that. But right now, because there's so much investment money flowing in, because there's such high valuations, people are thrilled. They're much happier than they were. That's the biggest difference.
Quickly, look at this note, folks. This is such a graceful way to end the Facebook effect. He was oblivious, immobilized, hands clasped behind his back, head down, lost in thought. There was gravity in the man's demeanor. They're not normal, are they? These code writers. I mean, I
That's
think
the very end of the book, right?
The code writers, they don't think like we do, and their skill is remarkable.
Well, the
isn't it?
great ones like Zuckerberg think very long term. And let's remember, the code writers are basically ruling the world right now. Facebook, Google, these guys that build these systems have more power, more influence in society than anybody, even the great political leaders right now. I believe that firmly.
David, thank you so much.